Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. I want to talk about a watch modification today. You know, a few months ago, I converted one of these G-Shock King watches to metal with a kit I got through AliExpress. Okay, so I liked the way that turned out, and I thought I might want to try that with one of these 6900 series watches. Now, when you think about the iconic G-Shocks, of course, the G-Shock Square is iconic, this whole look here. And also, of course, the 6900 series is an iconic G-Shock look. So between the two of these, those are the most iconic looks for a G-Shock. Obviously, there are other kinds of G-Shocks out there, but you know, you're basically going to think of this one or this one. Now, I've got a lot of different G-Shock Squares, and they've been offering them from Casio, already made with a lot of different colors and some different variations there. And, you know, I have my favorites, and I can get a lot of them already made the way I want them. But with the 6900 series, well, a lot of the variations they have out there and that they have had over the years, well, they don't quite have all the features I like. For example, I like tough solar. A watch that will automatically charge itself because there's a solar cell built into the face. I like multi-band 6, so it automatically picks up atomic time information and sets itself to the right time. So I like those. And I also prefer the positive display rather than kind of this negative LCD, which is kind of more difficult to see in different lighting conditions. So when I narrow that down to, well, I want a 6900 series watch, but I want it to be positive display, tough solar, multi-band 6. Now my choices are limited. But still, I thought it would be more fun to have more than one of these watches. So what could I do to take a 6900 series watch? In this case, it's the GW6900 that has all those features I like. How can I dress this up and have more fun with it? And so I thought, well, what if I got a conversion kit similar to this one that I got from AliExpress, and I were to convert my 6900 series watch to some nice full metal bracelet and bezel? So that's what I did. So let me just show you. This is a GW6900 that I got quite a while ago, and then several months ago I swapped out the regular resin band for one of these knockoff Chinese copies of the Casio bracelet, and I've done pretty well with the bracelet on this watch. I'm not going to convert this watch. Instead, I just got another one. So I'll leave this one as it is, and I'll start with this GW6900, and here is the conversion kit I got through AliExpress. Now, like the other conversion kit I used earlier for the King watch, this one comes with, of course, the bracelet, a bezel, and some tools that you would need to do the job, but it doesn't come with any instructions on how to do the job. So I think I can figure this out. And if it works well for me, maybe you can use my video as your instructions if you decide to do the same thing to a GW6900 watch. Okay, so let's figure this out together. So first thing I'm going to do is use this screwdriver that they gave me with the kit, and I'm going to remove these screws on either side of the watch, top and bottom, and that will help me to take the bezel off. That'll be my first step. So very carefully, let me just undo those screws. Okay, those came right off. I prepared my work area with this piece of just a microfiber cloth so that when these small pieces fall out, they're not going to roll away and get lost. They're just going to be captured by this cloth. So I'll keep these screws and see if I need to use those again. I haven't checked to make sure, see if they've given me new screws for that or if I just reuse those. Now the bezel, you got to kind of wiggle it off. It kind of comes around these buttons or these pushers here, so you have to kind of pry it away. It's a flexible resin, so if you work with this a little bit, you can make that come apart. Just be patient, and sometimes it's not ideal to show this to the camera, but I'll do my best. All right, so that side looks like it's good, and then that makes it pretty easy to wiggle off the other side, and there you go. There's the bezel. You know, it's funny, I've never even worn this watch. I bought this watch for this purpose, So this is a brand new bezel. I'm going to keep that in case I ever need to revisit this watch or replace a bezel. Nice to have a spare bezel now from the original equipment. And then, of course, the watch band is going to be the same deal. I've never worn it. But this one, I'm going to take the spring bar tool that was included with the kit. And the one side of this is just pointed, and the other side has that little V notch there that I can use to loosen up these spring bars. So I'm going to just dig in here. It's a tight area here, so just be patient. And if I can compress that spring bar a little bit, taking it out is always a little bit more simple than putting the new one in. But I'll show you how this is done. All right, boy, I'm making it look easy so far. Now you can see here that I have this button here for the light, and I'm going to be careful about that. I don't know if this will, it feels like it's on there pretty tight. I can wiggle it a little bit, but I'll try not to let that fall off during this process. And if it does fall off, I think I can just push it right back in place. But here's your basic, here's your basic module. No bezel, no watch band. And I'll use my microfiber cloth to say no fingerprints either. Okay, so ready to go. Oh yeah, it definitely looks like it needs a bezel, and it needs some sort of watch band or bracelet. So let's go for it. This bezel in the kit comes wrapped in kind of, it's almost like a saran wrap type of wrapper, but it's really thick. So I'm going to try to remove it carefully and keep the wrapper, but I might just have to just rip it apart. I don't know. Just oh, not bad. Okay, so there, ooh, wow, that is shiny and nice. So looks like this will just slide over there. It looks like it's going to be a good fit. Now, when I was researching this project, there was some indication that the GW6900 might have a different thickness than the GW6900. So according to the listing that I bought this through AliExpress, this was the right size for a GW6900, and so far so good. Looks like it's going to be right. But I'm going to put on the bracelet before I permanently attach that bezel, because I think that'll make it easier to get in there and work with those spring bars. Keep in mind now, this is mostly plastic here. So when you're working in this area here, you want to be careful, patient. You don't want to be gouging up and scratching up, all this plastic material here. But basically, you're just looking for, there's a little spot on each side where the tip of the spring bar has to be well seated right there in that little receiving area. So you want to make sure, you're getting that in there the way it needs to be on either side, and both the top and bottom of the watch. As long as you can get those well seated in there, you'll be in good shape. It's just kind of tricky when you feel like you need 3 hands to do this sometimes. But let's try it. The kit I bought came with 4 spring bars and some extra screws. So I think I'll use these spring bars to try and do this. I only need 2 of them. So let's see how we can do here. Oh wait, hang on. That's interesting. This is a spring bar that has kind of a quick release design there on the side of it. So maybe that will make it even easier to do this job. I thought those were screws, but see how those are just permanently part of the spring bar. So I haven't worked with that before, but maybe that will make it easy to do this. Wouldn't that be nice? And here you can see there's a little space for that on the end of the new bracelet. So let me just slide that in there, and wow, we're going to see how well this will work doing it this way. Ooh, okay. There's a plastic wrapper on here to protect the finish on this, so I'm just going to peel a little bit of that away just to make it easier to work with that. And after it's all the way in, maybe I can peel off the rest of it. But now this attaches to the bottom of the watch, this end of it. So again, just a little tricky. Align the holes there and get it all kind of pushed in place. I can just maybe even just use my fingernail to compress this spring bar. And you know, it looks like I got it. Once it was compressed, I kind of pushed it out that way a little bit just to make sure it was well seated. And then I kind of tried to twist it a little bit, wiggle it like this to make sure it's not going to fall out. And so far, it looks like I got it. So, oh boy, this is great. Let me try the other side now. Hey, but before I do, I'm just going to release this spring bar from the clasp. Take the pieces of the clasp apart, and I think that'll make it easier to work with this end. So, all right. Wow, this is great. Once again, I'm going to put this special spring bar with that little piece on the side into here. Line that up with the back of the watch case. I'm going to compress that with my fingertip to make it fit in there. Push that in, make sure it's well seated, and then just give it a little push this direction to make sure it is really nice and tight. And oh, look at that. It really feels like I got it. Now, I'm going to peel back this protective covering a little bit more. It's a pretty good looking watch already, but it needs a bezel. And looks like the bezel is going to go on just fine. The original button for the light is just fine in that spot too. So if I can just get this pressed on and lined up, I can put the screws in there and secure the bezel down. And I think we'll be done with the process as soon as I get that done. Looks like as part of the kit, they've given me 5 of these screws. So I'm going to use the new screws to complete securing the bezel. These screws have kind of a blade head there. So again, I'll use this little screwdriver they gave me as part of their kit to secure those. And with any luck, I'm almost done with this project. All right, I got those on there nice and snug. I got to be careful. You know, you have this tendency to want to really tighten those little screws like that, but you don't have to make it super tight, just snug. So yeah, don't overdo it. And look what I've got so far. I think that just looks fabulous. Maybe even looks a little bit better on camera than it does in person, but it looks great in person. So I'm going to pull the rest of these protective covers off. It's a very shiny. There's a little bit of a brushed look on these links here. It's more of a polished look here around the bezel. So maybe a fingerprint magnet. I don't know. Does that look like a Cylon from the old Battlestar Galactica show from the 1970s? I don't know. And then, yeah, brushed on there. Very polished around here. And it looks good. Now, I just need to size this. So I may have to remove a link or two from this band. So let's do that. First of all, let's see how that looks on my 7.5-inch wrist. Super loose. I'm sure I'll have to take out at least 2 links. So, and I think it's pretty straightforward on here. You just need a spring bar tool to get those links out. In fact, what you can do is take the pointed end, right, and just push it through these holes on the sides to compress those spring bars. And then you can just kind of wiggle out the spring bar that's in there. There we go. And again, this is kind of a different spring bar like I had on this other kit here. This spring bar here doesn't have these little rings on the end like you get on sort of the more standard spring bar. Those rings allow this little V-shaped tool to kind of grab onto those, and this doesn't have that. These are tiny, and they're just different. So I would say they'll be fine. They're just different, and I wouldn't want to lose them because I don't know where you'd get new ones. I suppose it's not impossible, but for now, I've got my little cloth here to help keep me from losing these. So all I need to do is remove the spring bar from 2 links that are next to each other, and then I can pull one out. But I'm going to start by pulling out 2 from this side, I think. All right, so those 2 links out, then I'm just going to put these back together and put this spring bar back in place. And then we'll see how the watch fits when I've made that adjustment. This is one of those times when you might wish you had 3 hands just to juggle that. I got those put together. Let's see how it fits. 2 links taken out. Okay. Still not quite right. So if I take out one more link from the other side, okay, now let's try that on. And you know, that's pretty good right there for me. But I still have a micro adjustment here on the clasp. I've got it right now set to the tightest fit. So I'm just going to move that down 1 or 2, just using this little spring bar in the clasp. And this should be fairly straightforward. Okay. And I'm just going to remove some more of this protective film here just to make sure that's not interfering with the fit at all. And look at that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, if I need to do any more adjustments, it's kind of nice that I have some more play with the micro adjustments on the edge of this clasp. So I can still bring it back a little bit tighter if I need to, or loosen it out. There are, after all, 4 holes there for the micro adjustments. So I think I'm done here. And now that this is done, I just want to show it to you, you know, just kind of all angles there. Original button there for the light, and I tested it off camera. Everything works great with the light. Very shiny. The clasp says G-Shock on it. It's a nice looking clasp, very similar to the other kit I got. Feels like good solid metal, feels strong. And so I think I'm going to probably be very super careful with this, try not to scratch it up. So I'll only wear it on nice occasions and not use it as any kind of a beater watch. But so far so good. Everything looks nice this way. And well, see what you think. This cost me about $89 from AliExpress for the entire kit. And shipped from China. You know, it took a few days extra, but everything happened just fine. And so now here you go, my fully converted GW6900. And maybe you're saying, yeah, but Casio sells one with a metal bezel. But as far as I know, Casio doesn't sell one with a metal bezel and a metal bracelet. And also the one they sell with a metal bezel, as far as I know, it doesn't have multi-band 6. I don't know if it has tough solar or not. Anyway, but given the choice, I would rather have both tough solar and multi-band 6. And now metal as well. And this is a good way to get it. Again, you need the base watch and then a little extra to buy this kit. Compare these two, kind of the more standard looking 6900 series GW6900 with now the modified GW6900 with a metal bezel and bracelet. Now, just for those of you who've watched my channel a lot, you may be wondering, wait a minute, how come they're not perfectly synchronized? I'm doing a little project right now, and I'll have a video coming soon and explain why they're not synchronized right now. But as far as beyond, you know, being synchronized, I think that's a great little piece of variety there, starting again with the same basic watch. And now I should show you a weight comparison. Here's the one with the Chinese copy of the Combi bracelet. Okay, 71 grams. And let's compare that to this conversion that I've done, 159 grams. And then if I add those links that I took off, that'll add another 10 grams to it. So if you needed to use all of these links, 169 grams, which is quite a big difference compared to this one at 71 grams. You may be saying, what about just stock, you know, before you did any conversions? What about with the regular resin band? Well, I happen to have another one here that has not been converted at all. 63 grams. So, all right, you can see a little bit heavier with that and a whole lot heavier with that. And now you might be thinking, wait a second, you already have this one, and now you have this one. Why do you need another one? Well, I've got something else in mind, but that'll be for later on in an upcoming episode. So please join me later for more episodes of the Good Timekeeping Show.